Welcome to the director's commentary for 9. I'm Shane Acker, the director of the film.
I'm Joe Cassander, the animation director.
I'm Ryan O'Loughlin, the head of story.
I'm Nick Kenway, the editor.
So you can even hear over the sort of IDs, you can hear the music starting to creep in, setting the tone for the film. We knew we wanted to enter the film mysteriously. We get a lot of images that the audience is sort of piecing together as we introduce the main character of the film, 9, being created. We worked on this opening sequence over and I mean, it was one of the things that we knew we had to hold out to the very end of the film to really know what to put in here. You know, you had to see how much we had explained to know how little or how much we had to put into this beginning.
It used to be a lot more vague. It just shots of war and shots of
like lots of different
and,
pieces. Yeah,
and didn't quite get a linear narrative.
And this seems so much simpler now because it's really focused on the creation of this character.
And it's creation of a doll by a mysterious figure using some kind of mysterious technology. A whole lot of questions are thrown up without answers. It was actually, I think one of the last sequences that we storyboarded. We realized that we had to storyboard the whole movie. Let's see how it plays out, and then let's see what information we wanted to front load to the audience.
And it ends up being nice film grammar too. It's just very efficient. Just an image that tells you something, another image that tells you something else, and plus the narration. So it communicates a lot with very economic choice of shots.
And also, and once we had the film together, and we realized that we wake up in the world with 9, and we see the world through his eyes. We discover the world from his eyes. So we didn't want to reveal too much in the beginning. We wanted to leave that for this moment when the film starts.
Not only discovering the world, but discovering himself, discovering what he is. You know, this again, just beautiful animation here. It's the subtleties in what was going on.
And speaking of 9's eyes, there's this conceit that their eyes are kind of made out of photo shutters, like irises, and there's even a sound for when the eyes click, like a shutter clicking. And each one of those little pieces sort of slides along the other one. It's very, all very mechanical. It's part of the original design from the short and carried over into all of the character designs. And it kind of limits you in some ways animation-wise. There's only so much. They're not cartoony, squashy, stretchy eyes. They're mechanical, and he can't really look out the side of his eyes very well. So you have to turn his whole head or turn his whole body. So you're still doing a big physical performance to convey the emotions.
It does. It makes it a little broader. I mean, it pushes the pantomime, and sometimes those design challenges yield the best results, the most creative results.
Yeah. It just meant that the eyebrows were really important to
expressions. They were really important, yeah. They drove a lot of it, and the posture.
Mm-hmm. Yep, body language, everything. And this scene especially really typifies the sort of steps of a newborn, kind of in this new world, discovering his own physicality as well as discovering the environment around him.
And, we start really close to 9, then we get a little wider, we're starting to reveal the world until this moment here where we open up and we see the larger world and the tragedy that's...
Ryan did a beautiful job storyboarding that section, and that shot flow stayed intact quite...
Right from the beginning.
Yeah, we didn't really mess around with that too
much. Once I went in and fixed it, it works really, really well.
Well, until I got an animation, we finally made it.
Finally managed to correct all the errors.
No, I think you're right though, Nick. I mean, I think we had more, and again, it was a process. It was an editing process. It was like refining it down to just the important bits, simplifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to convey sort of as much story as you can with as little real estate. To be efficient, but also, just to keep the story moving and, keep us paying attention to the characters. So we're not overloaded with lots of information and exposition. And
then we're planting seeds, like that camera move that came as 9's leaving the room. We pan over and we see that music box like object with the number 9 on it. Just little, seeds that we plant that will pay off later on in the film.
And then here, all the exposition that we get about this destroyed world is visual. Everything is visual. From here we see the poster of the revolution.
That's right.
A revolution against the machines, obviously. To details on the wall about some kind of tyrannical regime.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to know exactly what happened. No. You just sort of get the idea that that symbol is clearly fascist in design, and it's clearly not a pleasant place.
Mm-hmm.
And now we see the
wreckage of these machines.
But the machines aren't like future robots. There's sort of this old-fashioned kind of World War I, World War II feel about them.
Well, I mean, the setting was always, we'd always sort of talked. you had always talked about, it sort of sitting between the two world wars,
Yeah.
sort of not belonging to either one.
And in that European landscape, I mean, it's a European feeling
Right.
city.
Yeah, we always had that city, and then we, the idea of the walls of the city being a boundary between, sort of essentially what was sort of safer than the great unknown outside, which is where
That's
the
right.
factory stood, and we kind of based that city off of like
Vienna, I
a
think
pre-war
it was,
Vienna,
yeah.
which is an ancient walled city that expanded out beyond those old walls.
I always like the conceit that the setting of this world is kind of like robots fought World War II. Like it's got that
Yeah.
it's got that kind of a feeling to it.
Yes, and
Using the
we'll-
technology of the time,
which will be the prequel,
right.
and the scientist will be the action hero.
But I think it's nice that you put enough so the audience can start to construct a story, a backstory, but you're still leaving it open for them to construct it. It's like reading a book in some way, and I think that you're engaging them, you're asking them to participate, and I think that's what draws
you
them
want them
even
to
more
think.
into the film. Yeah, you want
So
them
they're
to
not
think.
just eating popcorn.
Yeah.
I love this shot here. He sticks the match in the eye.
Yeah, I always get to, dark humor, I always get to laugh.
Yeah. Nice little texture.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
But again, we're just having fun. His cart that he's going and scavenging with is an old roller skate, which is fun.
Exactly. I mean, there's so many of these little details that are wonderful. I mean, and again, a little character moment with 9, the naivety, picking up a bullet, and he's about to slam it against.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blow them all up. And this is great. This is Elijah's first lines, is him saying "friend," and there's this processing on the voice. And it was fun animation because the animation got to act out.
Yeah, you feel it almost. It's like a tickling sensation, right? That's the way we kind of pitched it.
Like there's the sort of energy coming up there, and you can feel it. And it's you can hear the sort of processing, and ultimately he ends up with with Elijah's voice. But there was talk for a while of maybe doing some processing for the whole.
Yeah, and I think that was the solution. We never somehow by processing all the dialogue, it disconnected you from the characters. They didn't feel human and warm. They felt there was a separation, this layer. So our solution was to kind of pack it into that one moment in which we see one of the characters getting their voice. 9, you get that. You have fun with that, but then it just. You allow them just to speak with a natural, warm human voice from there on.
Yeah, and I think it's a nice touch because there's these little soft creatures, but they're they're made out of material. They're not organic,
And they're they're mechanical. I mean, they're a combination of this soft technology and this mechanical hard
Right.
technology.
And the secret ingredient, of course.
right.
Yeah, that's right. The soul juice.
Our cat beast, our first threat. That silhouette is great there. You can just sort of see how dangerous that thing is, even if you don't know it. His blades
And
sticking
then
up.
finally we get our big close-up there.
Yeah,
And the
great.
big Jurassic Park roar. Right in the eye.
Too. I mean, he's feisty.
He really
Slam.
is. For
Yeah.
an old guy, he doesn't mind throwing down.
No.
And I love the delicacy here, the giant beast holding this talisman in his fingertips.
This is always a great moment here. This is the first real scare of the film, and it's great. We wanted to have something early on in the film to really kind of unground the audience.
Yeah.
To
I
make
mean,
them-
just go with the horror conventions here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And this is a great shot too, just sort of like that, almost like he doesn't. There's nothing he can do right there, just inches away.
The best thing about it, though, is if he hadn't have had a broken finger, he actually would have touched
Yeah,
his
that's
face.
right. That's right. It's convenient. And the behavior of the cat beast was kind of cool because he's kind of half cat, half gorilla in his behavior. Because he's got long limbs like a gorilla does.
And a shorter torso, yeah.
Right, but he sort of has these cat mannerisms. So it was a lot of fun to animate. And that was one of the things that Shane and I talked about early on is that, this is filled with stuff that we just want to animate. There's these characters and they're all, all different personalities. There's monsters of different kinds. I mean, it was just kind of like, a playground for us.
Yeah,
to play in.
and being an animator, I wanted to create that fun, creative space for the artists to, like a sandbox for them to go in and really play and have fun with.
And we get our introduction to 5 coming up here.
We wanted to leave him a little mysterious too.
It's a little misleading. It's like he's a villain or something.
Yeah, well,
It's
he has this. He's
I love the
missing an
misdirect,
eye,
yeah.
so he's a little monstrous in some way when we
Yeah.
first see him.
and then we cut right back in, blades hanging over.
Yeah,
Nothing subtle about that.
he comes in with the
Pair of scissors, you
giant
chop his head
scissors,
off.
yeah.
Yeah, you start the scene one way, and then you flip it around.
And here's the other match to the skate that 2 has out there. So,
Yeah, subtle
and they're
things.
using it as a gurney in the workshop.
And you can notice the Christmas lights that are illuminating this little lab. And we show later on the propeller of the airplane that's crashed into the cathedral during the war at some point, and it's like a wind turbine that's powering the.
They've harnessed its energy. It's ragdoll tech.
All these sort of detailed thoughts that have gone into all of the locations and the environments, and the little stories that are behind them.
Yeah, because there's a history that happened before this film started, and we wanted to really think about that, how these guys have adapted to this world, and because they're creative forces in this world. For them, it's not a ruined world; it's a treasure trove of things that they can use to make a new life.
I'd like to point out here, so we've got Christopher Plummer doing 1, and John C. Reilly doing 5, and then Elijah doing 9, and there's sort of this great little moment between them, and you can really see their different characters, how they all treat the situation. The way 5 is kind of scared, 9 is kind of inquisitive, and 1 is kind of authoritarian.
Mm-hmm. And you also see 5 and 9 are more natural. I mean, they're in their birth suits in some way, but the other characters have adorned themselves with different things that, especially in 1's case, to try to separate him from the others in some way. He's more elitist.
You see the design details. 8's shoulder pads are made out of like a bandsaw blade.
Oh yeah, a broken circular saw blade. Yeah.
And here we go. As soon as we don't know where we are in that room, we have no idea, and then we open up and we reveal slowly, oh, okay, we're in a burnt out, the nave of a cathedral.
That's
and
right.
We journey through that. Now we're in like a makeshift elevator, a bucket elevator going up to the
top of the
bell tower.
Again, because we're on this journey with 9. We're seeing things for the first time as he sees things for the first time.
Beautiful shot here. The dust motes in the air and the stained glass window, and it's all beautiful, but it's also decayed, which is sort of the hallmark of this film.
We're taking some time here to create some mood and.
Mm-hmm. And this is the space where the ragdolls have been hiding. It's their so-called sanctuary, which is 1's throne room. And of course, he's picked the power location. He's created himself a little throne, and he kind of resides over them. So
the angel sitting above, the stained glass angel.
Little hint of 6 back
all
there.
The details, the candles, the calendar. And it's the little crucible. What's it called?
Oh, the thurible.
Thurible
the incense burner.
For the incense burner as a heat source.
Yeah.
Each other with fire and metal.
And then a little pushback in time here. And I know this flashback sequence was around for a long time in the edit.
Yeah, we always imagined this moment in which these our characters lived with the humans, that brief time as the world's collapsing.
Yeah, that little bit of overlap.
Yeah. And they're just frightened. I mean, they don't know who they are, why they're there, and they're just, instinctually just trying to find shelter. And you can see here how heroic 7 is.
She's
right
outside,
here.
yeah.
She's the scout. She's out finding and collecting as many as she can, but they've run out of time. They need to move on.
Now here's the War of the Worlds beasts coming here.
We see a few animated humans in this movie.
And which is
That's
also, again, for scale, like we know how big a human is, and seeing how small the human is against these beasts really helps to set up the size and scale of these things. And of course, we just wail on 5 here.
Yeah. Ouch. And we see now the gases that destroyed the Earth.
Yeah, we see the flowers dying.
The flowers wilt. Sort of all this overlapping storytelling.
And yet our characters can live in this environment, and maybe that's why they were. I mean, that is why they were created, because they could carry on in a world where we couldn't.
In a poisoned world that wouldn't
yeah.
allow life to survive.
There's 7 doing her first hero move there. She's
Saving
always
5.
saving everybody else's bacon.
So we see how 5 loses his eye, and the fact that the 2 of them were the ones to go back to.
Yeah, and
to
2,
help
the
him.
most unlikely probably one to go back, hero.
And 1 not really wanting to endanger himself or the others for that matter.
notice that 1
to save the 1.
And 1's got his helmet on at the time. It's like a shotgun shell.
Bullet casing.
Bullet casing, yeah. So he's already starting his sort of like costuming. But what's interesting is there's a little setup there, the animosity between 7 and 1 there.
Yeah, you can feel the tension there, yeah.
Yeah, and so when we realize that she's no longer around here, where it's coming up in a little bit, where we see the numbers all crossed out on the calendar, and we realize that she's since gone somewhere at some point in between now and back then. And a few of them have left the roost.
Yeah, and I love the way we changed the lighting environment here, because where first it was this kind of angelic, heavenly place, sanctuary. Now it's this kind of dark, creepy, foreboding, very claustrophobic place. And so you're starting to realize that the concept of sanctuary means one thing to one character and something completely different to the others.
I also like the conceit that it always seems that like 1 has practiced this speech a few times just in case he runs into anybody else. Like he's got a little routine.
That's right.
I'll light the fire. I'll bring him over to the picture, and then the fire will burn out. It'll be perfect.
And we always talked about that he's acting. You know, our character one is acting. He's very
love this shot here.
Putting it on.
theatrical. Yeah, he's putting it on.
Well, you know, and that some of that comes from a little bit of watching Christopher Plummer, who did the voice, because you know he's a Shakespearean actor. He was in the Royal Canadian Shakespeare Company, and so we have one, especially early on, kind of being sort of a larger than life theatrical presence, and he's got even has a little stage and a proscenium arch as he kind of he's creating a world that he thinks is a better world, but there's a sort of artificiality to it and kind of stifled feeling to it.
And later on in the film, when we realize that those characters that he's marking off aren't actually deceased, but they're dead to him in some way, right? Because they've decided to leave.
I think it's a nice mislead that they're gone, but they're not dead.
Well, and that's the
Except for
thing.
people who've seen the trailer.
Exactly. List them all. That's right.
And even two, for two isn't dead. I mean, they just don't know he's been stolen. But one's prepared to just cross his name off.
That's
it's
right.
like, no, he's dead to us.
Yeah.
Which is what counts. He's dead to me.
The design details here in the
Watchtower
are great. You can see that they made the spyglass out of a sextant and some lens work, and all the sort of like accoutrements that they've collected over the years to sort of make their own little world up here.
and just the technology of our characters. You can see it everywhere. They just bend metal to make railings, and it's real simple, kind of
Very rudimentary.
beginning technology.
But handcrafted and kind of very lovingly made. It's not it's not plastic. It's all handmade. Yeah.
Come with me.
Some really delicate acting here by the animators. It was sort of our first real big acting sequence we started on. And there's this like moment where 9 is kind of manipulating 5 a little bit. I mean, he wants 5's help, but he's kind of trying to convince him that it's worth going out and
Pulling
finding
the heartstrings,
too.
yeah.
He's pulling
Yeah.
the strings a little bit. This is a fun touch here, a little pat on the back and drags the hand.
Yeah, I remember seeing this because this was one of the first, really dramatic acting sequences, and that touch with the
On the
double
eye,
hand
yeah.
pack. And this has really brought these characters to life.
Yeah, I like to try to get that in as much as possible, to get the characters touching each other, interacting, because again, it's hard to do in CG, and it's fun to sort of make it feel like they interact with each other, and it's like a real world. They're not just puppets that are being manipulated by some unseen driver. That they have a soul and they interact with each other. And
Well, I mean, it's sort of one of the things that is difficult to do, and it's expensive to do in CG, but it's sort of one thing that's taken for granted, when actors communicate with one another. The physical bond, between two people, says so much, and to be able to, extend that into these characters is very important.
there's a little time here, right? Even 9, like going to put his hand, like he's going to pat him on the back, but
realizes that we don't have enough money for it.
That's where we sowed the seed of suspicion for 9.
Yeah.
Yes. One.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
It's like, why was he
Just
out
that
there
one
alone?
little look. Yeah.
and there's our factory. We're setting that factory up again.
Where's this tunnel?
So this was another sequence that
And this is fun too, because even though 5 has the map and supposedly he's nowhere to going, 9's in the lead, because you almost get the feeling that 9 is pulling 5 reluctantly through this journey. You know what I mean?
And as soon as it gets tough, 5 wants to go back.
Yeah, well, because 5 just lost his security blanket in some way.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, 5's got a point, like, because what they do next is they kind of mess things up. But there's that parachute back there, the sort of the remnants, the ghosts of humanity.
Yeah, and it's just this really, it's this really creepy yet beautiful thing.
Parachute
And
caught in a tree. It's very haunting.
Yeah. And it is. It's like a ghost haunting back there. And also, it's a way to bring the world to life, even though there's nothing living left in the world.
Which
we're
was
always
a tricky thing to do throughout
Yeah.
the film, try and find.
We're always trying to do that. And even you can see here the patterns of light moving across the ground and across our characters, as if the light's being filtered through the dust. It just brings life to the world.
I mean, the level of detail in sort of the environments, and in the lighting and the cinematography is wonderful. It's a real testament to the guys that were working on it.
Yeah, I mean, we set a pretty high bar with the amount of detail and distressing we put in the characters. So it's sort of like they had to, which is great. But they wanted to. And I think that's why so many artists were drawn to the project and responded to the opportunity, because it really is. Every shot is this kind of little beautifully crafted work of art, and we're always asking the artist, here's a story we're trying to tell. How can we put that in? How can the design help us tell that story? How can the shot? How can the background?
And it's important for the characters because they're not, they're not human, even though they have this sort of human soul. They don't take anything for granted. They can use anything, and they do use anything. to sort of fabricate their little world.
And I mean, I think this film will stand up to multiple viewings just simply because there's so much to take in the environments outside of what's going on with the characters. Because each environment does have its own little story.
Yeah.
You know, like here, it's a tank trap. You know, going into a series of trenches. You know, that they've obviously have been there since the war.
Yeah.
And where they were battling against the machines, they've dug in those trenches in this space between the city and the factory.
And if you look at that map, it's actually accurate from Five's point of view in the watchtower.
The center of their map universe is the watchtower.
Yeah.
So
if you pause it there, you can look at
everything radiates around from there. Yeah.
And here we are at the factory, stores of bombs and war machines.
The gas bombs from the...
Yeah, which Five is naturally frightened of because it's sort of what took him out early on in the movie.
You know, this moving light source that 9 carries around is great from a design point of view. I know it's technically difficult to have a light source moving throughout the whole film, but it's great because it sort of makes them like a center of warmth in this like dangerous world.
That's right. It focuses on them. I mean, it's obvious the audience eye goes there. You're right. It adds warmth. They're they're a heart in this cold world, warmth, and also it just again brings the world alive with the light source moving through the space that's static. All of a sudden, it becomes dynamic.
Here we are in the factory, and they've just moved through like an oil sort of chute or a broken barrel, and there's a whole story behind that, where the oil feeds into the factory from the fields around it. That
it's a setup for later on.
Yeah, I mean we're constantly planting little seeds. Even the knife that 9 hands to 5 when he makes the light staff comes into play later on
from 2's staff.
From 2's staff.
Yeah, hopefully it comes across as organic. It doesn't feel forced, but these characters use everything at their disposal.
Well, there's a nice metaphor in that. I mean, up until now they thought 2 is dead, but they were using the hat, what's left of him, to help solve problems. Still, I mean,
I love he's got the talisman on a little clip on his
cat collar.
Yeah,
his cat collar.
I mean, so here we're setting up the fact that the cat beast has the cat collar in which the talisman connects. We're setting up the fact that the cat beast was created to go and find this object that first gave the machine life. So you can imagine as the machine was sort of dying and trapped in the collapsed ruin of the factory, it made the cat beast out of whatever
scraps were
at hand and sent it out to find that thing to give it life once again.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't explain outright in words, but the world connects. Like Ryan, like you were saying, that factory is hooked up to an oil field, and that's where the machines came from. That's where the fabrication machine lives. The cat has the collar and the talisman fits in. It's all like the world connects if you dig into it, but we don't necessarily explain it all in words.
And there's a fantastic entrance of 7 here, and it's also important to note that the bird cage in which 2 is trapped in. There's a history there with 7. She's got the scar on her back. She's missing her number. She's encountered the cat beast before, and perhaps she was captured and put in that cage.
That's where she got the skull
and
of the bird.
And she got the bird skull and the feathers, and she was able to fight her way out, right? And now she's returning to kind of finally, put the finishing blows on this cat.
And I like the idea that she's sort of out there in the wilderness, like a samurai or something, sort of keeping an eye on everybody. She's not part of their world, but she's protecting everybody.
Yeah, he's got that wild sensibility, and that she's in tune with this nature, if you can say that, and she's becoming a beast. She's becoming beast-like in some way to try to figure out what it's doing,
living out in the world and tracking the cat beast.
Yeah,
and trying to find out what it's after because it's hunting them for a reason. And then when it finally finds the talisman, we understand its purpose.
Exactly.
It's taking these guys back there, but it needs that talisman in order to be able to do what it was programmed to do by the machine.
And you get the sense that she's let it exist.
Right, she could have killed it at any time.
Yeah, she's always been out there, watching and studying and trying to figure out what it was up to. Yeah, and I think it's fun. We're trying to figure out a way to get, because we knew structurally we wanted 9 to make this mistake. But how do we get him away from the group? And I think you did a really amazing thing, Joe, in which, there's this reunion of the family, but 9 isn't really a part of that family yet. So he's kind of on the outside, and he's a little awkward, and he's, he kind of just turns and looks around, and there's the talisman, which kind of draws him in. I think that was a great solution.
9, you idiot.
Yeah, we had to fight for him to actually wake the machine up himself and be responsible for the death of 2.
Yeah, because it makes him it's a big error he makes early on, and he kind of spends the rest of the movie living it down.
Yeah, that's the good thing about it, because it creates all this conflict, and then immediately afterwards he's held accountable and he has to...
Yeah.
But you're right, it was a bit of a fight for that, because,
But he's not like one. He doesn't make excuses. He
takes ownership for it. I woke up the machine,
Yeah, we even have a line specifically to that effect, yeah. But what's nice is, though, as rough as this is, and as tough as they are on 9, they include him in it. They don't shun him. 7 and 5 include him on the... they bring them in. They have to do it together, and that's kind of the theme. It's 1 through 9. Each of these numbers has sort of their own special gifts or special abilities, and it's only when they're all together can they really get their act together and solve a problem.
That's right. And 9's the kind of the catalyst. He's the one that kind of pulls them all together.
Now this stuff, the scale of this stuff, the film just opens up here for me. Just like
it really does, and I mean it's
Well, this is
a
where it
wonderful
sort of
turning point.
kicks into overdrive, and it just
And this is great. Here they literally turn the factory back on in their attempt to escape.
Yeah, the conveyor belts start going.
And it's everything in this world is a threat to these guys. They're just tiny.
And but again about the environments, the fact that we get a glimpse into perhaps how that factory operated when the fabrication machine was, building the war machines.
Yeah.
All of these conveyor belts on all the walls surrounding them,
feeding out the bits and pieces and
feeding bits and
assembling
pieces,
them.
from the other parts of the factory.
Hurry, quick!
And that's kind of how that's how we looked. That's how we approached the film. Is we knew structurally or even just sequentially how we need these are the problems to solve, and then how do we use the stuff that we have, the backstory, to help us solve those problems, so it all becomes self-contained.
Right, and then we also sculpt the world a little bit. Like we need it to solve a problem, so we'll put the oil field out the back of the factory or something like that to make those solutions sort of feed on themselves.
But also, but to that point, we really wanted to feel like out where the factory is, it's just destroying. It's just tearing into the earth and taking the oil and just killing the environment,
raping the land,
to create for this war effort, for this very destructive endeavor.
Yeah, and what's a nice, sort of interesting twist is that the fabrication machine is our villain in this film. He's, certainly a bad guy, but he wasn't always that way, and he was kind of made to be that way by the people who trapped him.
That's right. He's shaped by the...
Yeah, and it's all backstory, but it sort of gives us a psychology, and, we treat him like he's a giant petulant child who's been abused, but now has all this power. And it gives, even though he's just an eye and some arms, it gives the animator something to hang their hats on when they're animating him. He's not just a machine. He's sort of this tortured creature.
Yeah, and talk about constraints on the character. I mean, how do you make this eye emote? How do you do that? And so we had the idea of that electricity would become almost like the furrowed brow. It's a way of showing its emotion in some way.
Yeah, when he gets angry, he expresses it.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
The disdain in Jennifer Connelly's voice right there is just brilliant.
And I mean, this is that environment. We see all the pipes feeding into the
Yeah.
factory from the oil field surrounding it. We see the derricks in the background, and
It's almost like
Still
veins,
pumping,
arteries, spreading out, just like dark heart in the landscape.
Sucking the life out of the land. And this is cool. You can watch the oil derricks start up in this shot as they just sort of start to pull power again.
Yeah, so from the factory as the root,
the heart starts pumping again.
Exactly, literally, yeah. And it's fun the way we approach the design of the factory. It's almost like a cathedral of itself with the flying buttresses. But now we worship the machine here in some way. That's what we put our faith in now.
Our human skeleton getting
We see
separated.
the furnace in the opening shot there. The furnace is back on. It's sort of like the red glow of evil is sort of brought back to life.
Well, it's like this, hellscape in here. And our next beast.
And we get a sense of how the cat beast was initially made.
That's right.
Sort of from the destroyed bits and pieces around it.
And then as the film progresses, you see that as more and more the factory is repaired, he's starting to create war machines again. So if allowed to progress,
Who knows? Yeah, what would come of it?
yeah.
And you can see there's a design aesthetic that the fabrication machine uses. He has the same sort of like eye design for the creatures and the same kind of parts. And there's probably a pile of bones in there that he's using. And it's nice that he's got an aesthetic of his own.
And here we get to see the city before it was destroyed.
Yeah, there's
the
the
walled
cathedral.
city. Mm-hmm. The cathedral that they were housed in, the sanctuary. The detail in that shot. The globe used to be atop those three maidens in the statue.
Yeah.
And obviously during the war had been bombed and had fallen from there and rolled here. And
through
this
the
is
space,
where this is where we find our
librarians.
our
twins.
librarians, our collators of information.
And I like the story. Like they've taken this globe, and even though it's a thing of it's destroyed, it's sort of a symbol of the old civilization. They've turned it into their kind of their own library, their own little cathedral of learning.
It's their own little world in some way, and they live within that world. I mean, quite literally.
Yeah, sort of lost in their own minds, really. It's like a little brain, and they're filled with all this information, and it's kind of where they reside. It's where they hide.
And we kind of treated 3 and 4 like one character, even though there were 2 of them. They move together, they move in sync. The animator never animates just one. They're always sort of choreographed together, almost like they're 2 halves of one brain or something.
And the lovely fluid arcs that you get in the motion, and they move unlike any of the other characters, which is wonderful.
And it's cool they're made of gardening gloves.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I mean, so they are.
That's why
I
they
mean,
have the
they're a
thumb
matching
on
set.
the back.
Yeah, they have a little tail. 'Cause it's the thumb.
The thumb is the tail, yeah.
There we go. You can see
And
it
they do
there.
everything together. I mean, they're
That's it.
So we get a little bit more of the backstory here.
And did the scientist make them together, though? That's the question. He made them as a pair, probably.
Yeah, well, he had the gloves, the
I
left
think
and the
so.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
He'd given
he
up
was
gardening.
he was
Well, once those bombs fell.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, oh, well, there goes the flower beds. I guess.
Begonias, yeah.
Guess I can use the gardening gloves.
well, he's kind of a Geppetto Darwin-like figure. He's making each of these creatures have their own unique set of skills or inclinations and hope that they could survive. At least one of them may survive in this new landscape. And
Right,
so
that
the
each-
twins was a way of, there's a kind of a collective way of surviving.
But it's fun because the twins by themselves just collect the information. They don't do anything with it. They can't do anything with it. And it takes like 9 coming in to
That's right.
sort of spur them into action as well and eventually get them outside of their little cathedral.
There's our original machine
Yeah,
being placed in the Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
which looks a bit like the original atomic bomb casing design. So it's got that
It does.
Oppenheimer story, yeah. Because as we find out, the scientist made the dolls, but it also made that original machine, and that machine got turned into war, and it was not what he intended for it.
No.
Yeah,
no.
and so we wanted that original machine, which was, it could have gone either way. I mean, it was really just a benign creature. It gets housed into this fabrication machine and shocked and tortured. It's in the Iron Maiden, and so it's through conditioning, it's turned into the monster that it is. But it originally didn't start that way.
Right, there's this idea that those electrical shocks are actually sort of prodding it and pulling it so that the dictator, whoever can control it, tell it what to do by shocking it one way or the other. But it's become so conditioned to that it's using the electricity itself. Yeah.
But the thing that woke it was round.
I'm trying to justify his decisions.
With strange shapes.
There's mysteries here. We answered some questions, but we haven't answered them all. We don't know.
I love the fact that the twins, they kind of search their data banks and they can't find any information about what he's talking about.
Yeah, they don't have a little cubby hole devoted to the mysterious device that no one knows about.
6?
2 collected his drawings.
I like the shot that's coming up, that one there.
With a slow push in.
It really makes you know that that's an important thing.
Yeah.
I have to see them.
This is great. So Jennifer does a great job. Jennifer Connelly does a great job here. Like, she just really does not want to go back. But I love this. The knocking the helmet down with her blade, that's one of the Canadian animators in Toronto put that in because it's how hockey players knock their goalie mask down.
Oh, that's awesome.
So physically with Seven, we knew she was kind of a martial artist, kind of a warrior, but I didn't want to make her just sort of your sort of traditional movie kung fu artist or something like that, or a gymnast. So we looked at a lot of female athletes, female tennis players and skateboarders to sort of get her physicality, and also that French free running parkour to sort of give her sort of like a kind of a unique feel. She's still physical and capable, but it's not maybe the cliche that you might expect from a kung fu movie or something.
Yeah. Well, there's a kind of efficiency in the way she moves, which I think is what you gain from watching all that footage.
Right.
I warned you.
He warned you.
And this is great. This is Five's worst nightmare come to fruition. He
yeah.
didn't want to leave in the first place, and now he's coming back. Yeah.
He disobeyed the leader.
Yeah.
And now he's having to face it. Not only did they leave, do against what he was told to do, but totally failed in what he was trying to do in the first place.
And now he's just he's shocked at 9. He's just kind of watching the tennis match, back and forth.
Now we finally have our revelation of revealing 6.
Back.
Yeah, our Oracle. Mm-hmm. Crazy. He's got sort of the Tim Burton design.
Yeah, I mean,
influence
there's
there.
definitely a little shout out there. This black and white striped nature of his costuming and the crazy hair, and
If you look closely, you can see ink stains on his head, like he's.
yeah, like when he's nervous, he's always running his pen nibs through his hair.
Yeah.
That's right. 'Cause, yeah, he draws with his hands.
Yeah.
He's the artist. Sort of the tortured artist.
That's
sort of
it.
haunted by his own visions.
And that's, of course, Crispin Glover, who does the voice of that. And he's such a unique actor and unique voice, which is great, so that 6 is not a cliche. And, he's a tough one to communicate, but he makes him really appealing, even though he's crazy and you have a hard time understanding.
Yeah, he
what he's
really,
talking
really
about.
is appealing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Crispin did a lot of that. I also like here that 8 is kind of an intimidating figure. He's kind of the tough guy. He's the muscle, but he's also a bit of comic relief. So you never dislike him that much.
Right, because he entertains you in some. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we always thought of him as being just like the big football player, older brother kind of, type, where he loves, because he imagines for some reason that everyone's his size. They could take the hits and the punches that he does.
Right.
But he would never like really hurt these guys, but he'll definitely knock them around. I mean, that's good fun for him.
You even see a little moment here when one wants to run away with 8 and leave the others behind. 8 kind of has a little moment of hesitation as
To leave the others in the room with the beast.
He does leave, but he has a little moment here.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe not. Okay.
Well, because he's devoted to one.
Yeah.
He's devoted to one. He's going to serve one first and foremost, keep him safe.
So Nick, I got to say that the pacing on this sequence is just spectacular. It just keeps moving. There's a lot of information, a lot of stuff to follow, but it keeps moving forward. It never gets bogged down. And there's always some new challenge.
Well, part of that is because we do more than one thing in each shot a lot of the time. Each shot has got an A and then a B.
That's right.
It tells a little story. You try and get as much information across. Like there, you can see them in the background. And
then you even get a little like a exasperated
exiting.
look on 9.
Yeah.
And because you can abbreviate the information like that, you can really move through it quicker.
That's right.
Yeah. It was something that we were trying to do in the storyboarding process too, which is like, overlapping ideas in shots, sort of something in the foreground, something in the background. We saw it earlier, with the gas, the gas bomb going off, killing the flowers, and then we come in for 2 coming back to save 5.
So this sequence also has some of our sort of largest crazy camera moves, but even so, we always try to treat the camera like it was a real physical rig. I mean, sometimes you have a spider cam or a techno crane or something, but it's still something that you could plausibly see existing in this world, hopefully to give it a little level of reality, but still keeping it exciting and interesting.
Yeah.
Even the flying cameras behind the wing beast are almost as if they're on a rig. You can see them kind of floating and flying a little bit.
Yeah, again, it's just all, attempt to try to lull the audience into believing that this world exists, that these characters exist.
This is as plausible. Because if you can get them to believe that the world exists, that the danger is real, then they'll care about the characters. But if they don't believe it, it doesn't matter what you do, they'll never get behind it.
Plus, whether you studied cinema or not, I think just watching movies, the audience, they're ingrained in a cinematic language.
And by using that language, it's more familiar. And
Yeah.
Right, and we're doing such weird things with these crazy creatures that don't have skin, and you want to try to make it as accessible as you can.
Well, and as real as we could make it, and I think part of that approach was sort of looking at this film as though we were going to shoot it like a live action movie.
Yeah.
And taking the same approach to the cinematography, to the to the way we use the camera.
And we didn't want to have unmotivated camera moves because we didn't want the camera to draw attention to itself.
That's right. Only on a few moments, and then the audience really knows that, oh wait, there's something here I need to pay attention to.
You got to
There's
keep
something-
those moments, so they're special.
I mean, there's some pretty broad action here, like just the Rube Goldberg chain of events that gets them hanging from Seven's leg up there.
Well, I mean, it's really complex what's actually taking place here, but
It was
somehow
very tricky
it was
to
very
put it all
tricky.
together.
But
Yeah.
I think it really sort of flows. I mean, you've got these different groups of characters doing different things, and the whole world is changing every.
We have to go out to a wide shop every now and then.
Yeah.
well,
Just so you can see what's happening.
Yeah, the entire plane reorients itself, and they're hanging instead of on like what they were standing on as the ground is now the wall they're hanging from, and
Yeah, and of course the plane's something that we saw earlier, which is their source of power.
That's
it's
right.
their generator, and it's also their savior in this case.
and then there goes the wing beast.
Ouch.
Yeah, all the bits flying. These are characters made of cloth, and that, but that's basically their skin. The wing beast actually has a flag for wings, so that was sort of a lot of our where our effects time went, was getting those wings. And I think you need it for a big monster like that. It's our dragon. They're slaying the dragon.
And to the point of those wings, they came from the flag that the fabrication machine tore off of itself
Yeah,
when it was
that's right.
first revealed.
Yeah.
There's a great shot here. You can see Six running around in the background, sort of catching the ash like it's snow. And you'll see at the end of the sequence, he catches a piece and it kind of crumbles in his hand to ash. And, that's a scene that we had animated, but then for pacing reasons was cut out of the film for a while, but then brought back in. And I'm really glad you guys brought it back in because it's such a nice piece of
It's like a character moment. Yeah.
Oh, there was the disappearing ash.
Oh. Well, and again, because there is no nature in our world, this is a world in which the organic objects and things in the world are gone, and so we're always trying to find a way. Well, what is the weather like? I mean, what are the seasons? I mean, how do we get nature back in? And so we had this great idea of this ash snowfall.
And I think Six as the artist, and sort of the innocent, is sort of the one that tries to appreciate beauty wherever he can find
That's
it.
right.
And that's sort of what's so lovely about that moment. It's like, but the beauty's fleeting.
Yeah.
It's only there for a moment in time.
Yeah.
Shane mentioned to something, many years ago that if you take, human man-made things and you leave them alone long enough, they become organic again.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the design aesthetic here, is that, this is their nature. This is the forests and the trees and the canyons that they're living in. It's just that it used to be cars and buildings and factories.
Yeah, all the rust and the distressing, it's as if the nature's taking over the man-made in some way, making a new landscape from it.
Poor Dead 2 there. That's not good.
Yeah, what's going to happen to you?
No good is going to come of that.
And look at that color contrast there, just going from the deep red to the deep blue. And, it's there's a moment here of quiet, but it's not safe. We don't feel totally safe here. There's kind of a pall over everything.
It's certainly not the safest environment to hide out in with a broken roof.
Another one of our animation sheets, how he's sewing up Seven's leg, but you never quite see that needle going into
Yeah,
her leg.
yeah. It's just imply it. But it's great because it shows, Five's nature. He's a healer, He's the one that he's always trying to diffuse a situation and kind of smooth
He's the
things
mother
out.
of the group.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Trying to appease everyone,
Yeah.
sort of keep everyone happy. And, he's very obsequious.
And so he doesn't really have an identity. He's like the mentor of, he's the pupil of two, so he's always kind of relying on others for the identity.
And for guidance. And,
Yeah.
and we complete that arc a little bit later on. Where he
Nine
really comes
trusts
into
in
his
him.
own. Yeah.
And we get a fun little 8 moment here just before we kill him.
Yeah, we kind of get an insight on why 8 is probably not the sharpest tool in the shed here, yeah.
Kids don't do magnets.
Yeah, a little gouging.
Yeah, kids, stay off magnets. That's the word of advice there.
It's nice though, but I mean, it's a fun. It's kind of a horror movie again, where the character's off sort of being irresponsible, and
And again, it's trying to find contextual humor. We're not going outside our world. We're trying to find the comedy and the humor inside our world.
And again, it helps you believe the characters and care about them, so that when you finally do kill them, there's some impact.
What?
there.
He's going to die?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks for giving it away, Joe.
Why do you hate these guys so much, Shane?
This is fun. Our little researchers, in the absence of our heroes, have investigated what this strange device was that 9 was describing. And they've stumbled across this book, this old alchemy text.
Where they've seen the same symbols.
Yeah. And then 6 is the one who kind of starts to put the puzzle together in the best way that he can.
The great thing is 6
Tries to articulate it.
Yeah, he understands it, but he can't really explain it, and that's why there's still a disconnect. 9 is starting to get it, and we have this thing. 9 starts to get a little bit more crazy, a little bit more like 6, as he starts to figure it out throughout the length of the film.
That's right.
He starts to pick up that kind of crazy leap of logic they have to make, which is that our souls are separate from our bodies and they exist, and now they're inside the machine, and we have to get them out.
And you just get the sense that everyone's overlooked 6. They've just written him off as being this kind of crazy character, and just let's keep him in his little room and have him draw, and he'll be, And 9's really starting to see the wisdom that 6 has.
Yeah, and 9 doesn't take anything for granted because he's he doesn't have any of the prejudices that the others have come up with.
It really showed 1's contempt for 2 and 6's philosophy,
Right.
thereby tearing the drawing.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it's like an Albeck Dürer drawing. It just gives you the history that it's actually very old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wood block.
This ancient, the ancient art of alchemy, the dark sciences,
And that's where the scientists turned to solve this. He had this problem. He wanted life to continue after, or inorganic or organic matter couldn't, and so he's found a way to
How am I going to have humanity continue on in this world that's dead, that won't let humanity exist?
We always try to get all the design elements to have some purpose in the world, and like that magnet that's on 8's back, he uses that to mount his sword and his scissors.
Yeah, it's like his quiver.
Yeah, it's what so there's a reason for it there. He just sort of takes advantage. And
Takes advantage of it in the quiet moments.
That's right.
and there's our seamstress move in for the first time.
Which is fun. Again, here we go, sort of classic horror. We keep shifting genres, which is a lot of fun.
And 2's back in the movie.
Yeah, there's not a lot of animated films out there that really kind of go down the horror route.
And thriller sequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were shifting whether we should see the seamstress there or not.
Well,
Yeah, but
big
you know,
revelation.
but you see the shadow.
You
of
see
her,
the
so you
shadow,
get a
and
little
then you see the
teaser.
light. I mean,
Yeah.
just less is more.
It's sort of the piling up of details. You may not know exactly what you saw, but it sticks there in your brain, and your brain will sort of put the story together.
And then what's great is not only is that there's another monster here coming for 1, but he's actually confronted with what he's done in some way. It's the body of 2, the one he sent out.
Little Shakespearean.
So he's encountered with the ghost of his past in some way.
And that's almost more horrifying for him at the beginning anyway, when he recognizes too. At least that's what we're trying to convey, is that it can't be, he says. Because Tu's dead and I killed him. And so it's almost like he's like living with this shame.
He's Macbeth. He's Macbeth right here.
It's the telltale heart. Yeah, it's.
Find her. That's great. We need 7. We need to fight.
He just looks so cute when his eyes open up like that.
Look
Just
how
before
spooky.
he's about to get eaten by.
Here's Joe's animation right
That's
here.
right.
Actually, Joe's shot.
My one shot.
Oh, so horrific. I love it.
I love the sticky noise too that it makes when it opens up.
Yeah, I mean, Will Files, the sound designer, he did such an amazing job of bringing these creatures and this world to life. And here, especially, this creature is just as horrific and nasty as you could imagine.
Yeah, it's made up of all of our nightmares.
And that kind of snake-like shuddering sound that he has there.
I mean, the seamstress is such a terrific design. I just love the way she operates. These spools of thread sewing up her prey, swallowing them into her ribs.
Even the fact that the thread is red.
Yeah.
And it's this collection of like a spider and a snake and this crazy hooded thing, and it just
and like a cobra, it will she uses Tu to hypnotize its prey, like a cobra spreading its sort of skin out, to hypnotize its prey with the eyes.
Yeah.
Made partially of burlap, so it's a bit like the dolls.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of creepy because it's made from their skin.
Because these creatures are evolving. I mean, the fabrication machine is evolving the things he's creating too. Where the direct approach didn't work with the wing beast, and now it's something more sinister, something that lurks in the shadows and lures you to it, and then hypnotizes you. Captures you.
I think my favorite part, though, is the fact that there was a doll's head in the fabrication machine's factory.
Yes,
some poor child on a tour.
It was from one of the factory tours,
the
actually. The last factory tour, as it turns out.
That was a bad day to be there.
The dictator had a large family of children.
I think that last sequence was kind of important for the story, in that like we've lost 8 and we've lost 7, the warriors. Like, you thought it was bad before. 7 is the one who saved you, and now she's gone. Like, now it's kind of like the civilians are left. And there's even this little moment where the twins pick up her staff and they miss her, and there's like, we feel like, like even she's in trouble, and that hopefully raises the stakes. Like the enemies are getting more dangerous, and our heroes are getting kind of less empowered. They have less resources, and they have to work together. They can no longer just fight on their own.
And one now, without 8, he's forced to be a part of this group. There's no bully. There's no one to hide behind. There's no one that really is on his.
He's lost his
side.
muscle.
He's lost it. So he has to face and confront this. He has to face the death of Tu in some way, and to become a part of this group.
And has to concede leadership.
That's right. I mean, 9 now is the leader.
With great difficulty, obviously, because he doesn't want 5 to lead when we get into the next scene.
Yeah, that's actually fun that like when 9 steps away, he doesn't give second command to 1, he gives it to 5. And I think 1 chafes at that a little bit. But here, this is, showing the contrition that 1 has, that he knows that, what he did was not that cool. He sent 2 to die, and here's the evidence. When it was sort of abstract out in the wilderness, it was easier for him to deal with. Right?
It was a tricky sequence to try and make it not too long.
Right, because we got to keep the pace going.
Because if it was like over 2 minutes longer, it started off, it just felt slow and kind of bogged down. But we needed that moment and the breathing space and the sentiment.
Yeah.
So to try and find the minimal shots without making it feel rushed was quite tricky.
Right. It was a delicate balance because their friends just got stolen.
Right.
They've got to go and rescue them, but we didn't want to shortchange
they had to
Tu's
had some
memory.
urgency, but we couldn't rush it. So it was tricky to find the right.
Right, but it's not just for sentimentality. It's because we have to know that it hurts to lose people. So every time we lose a character, every time we sort of recognize the death of a character, it becomes scarier for the rest of the characters and for the audience, hopefully, that there's real risk, there's real death. These aren't just toys that are getting knocked around.
That's right. And we always imagine this being kind of like the Force 10 from Navarre, or that kind of
Guns of Navarone.
Guns of Navarone. It's like
Dirty
we're
Dozen,
storming the Citadel kind of a feel, sneaking in.
Yep, sneaking into the prison. It's the prison break scene.
It's a prison break scene.
It is a
That's
prison break scene. And so 5's got to come up with a plan. And 5 is smart, and 9 knows that, and 9 trusts him to come up with something.
For the first time, he's actually been given responsibility.
That's right.
And in case we don't get it, there's a flammable tag on that barrel. I think that was Nick who.
Yeah, there's also the bubbling oil sounds.
Right.
That keep trying.
And now we get to see the seamstress vomit up her prey.
And which is fun is that even though the seeker drones are out there looking, the fabrication machine doesn't really believe that these guys would ever, come and attack the factory itself. So
That's right.
No, they've been there once. They should have learned their lesson.
yeah, exactly.
Well, their size, the fact that they're so small is
It's to an advantage.
Yeah.
Fly in through the trench.
I love that 8's mouth is sewn up here.
Yeah, that seems just a detail. A crazy zoom dolly.
And here we kind of get a little hint at what's happening.
Yeah, the fabrication machine's kind
absorbing-
of getting powered or getting high from that soul juice.
Absorbing the souls of the dolls,
Yeah.
Feeding off of them. Like a vampire. He's a giant vampire Godzilla.
Yeah.
A Cyclops.
Well, he definitely has that sort of old Universal horror movie kind of feel about him.
We should have built like a metal collar
Yeah.
around it.
Well, I would literally do that with the animators. I would turn my
Some
collar up
sharp
and-
sideburns on
yeah,
it.
exactly. Because you got to play him big. Play him like Bela Lugosi or something like
Yeah.
that to make it read.
And this is a fun little scene here, rarely reminiscent of the short, in which 9 has created this trap for the machine. He's using his wits to
And thinking
out
really
Fox.
quickly too.
Fox, yeah.
He snares the beast.
But it's kind of a tricky thing because 7's inside.
Yeah, that's a bit of a risk there.
But you have to risk to
And-
gain.
Oh, I do love that.
Popping her head.
And then her little shield is the last thing to come out. It's
Good
fun
thing too, because we'll need it.
She keeps dropping that thing.
This is great. There's sort of everybody working together.
And the twins just still nervous. They've never really been outside, the library.
And we see 1's cowardice coming to the fore again. He's just not prepared to wait for them to
Yeah.
get out. It's like, no, do it now.
We did have a sequence where they got the barrel and pushed it up to the factory and they were hiding from the seeker drones, but it was just all slowed the...
No, I think
Oh,
there's a
actually,
better
no.
solution. I think it was good to separate
cut
the
straight to
groups,
it.
and 9 really becomes a hero. And here you see 1. In the moment, he's actually participating. He knows what to do. I mean, he
saved them once.
He was the general. I mean, he was that guy, and now forced again in that situation, he knows what to do.
I think the thing that really, when we actually decided to have 7 be the one gets taken, as well as 8 by the beast, we
the
had
two
to go in there
warriors.
and
That's a
rescue
great
them.
hook. Yeah, it was a great hook.
The civilians have to go save the warriors.
And we
oh,
also
look at that.
We also
Poor
found
Daddy.
that 9 wasn't heroic enough, and then by 9 rescuing 7, he becomes the hero. But then this is fun in here because he's, even though he saves 7 and uses intellect, he's still not, he's not athletic as she is, and he doesn't always know what to do in the tightest situations. So
Yeah, I love
she
watching her take over the
Yeah,
rescue.
she
She's like,
takes
"Thanks for
control.
rescuing me. Now get out of the way."
And she just kind of manhandles him to
Yes.
get out away from the barrel. It's great.
Really fun animation here as she shoves him up and around and then picks him back up again.
And then I love the tango when they
Yeah.
they grab the knife together and
It's like, 9 is rescuing 7 right now. Can't you tell?
yeah, she's like, "Go there. I'm gonna do this."
We got a little oil back in there.
And here, the seed we planted earlier when they jump across the oil slick, they're using it to the advantage now.
That's what happens when you use fossil fuels.
And the eye of the factory.
Just goes out, boom, right there. Yeah. Look at the effects too. I mean, this is obviously one of the big effects shots, and those guys at Stars with their just really ingenious use of resources and the size and scale of this thing. I mean, it's as big as anything.
Yeah, we really just had to strategize on what was the the important things because we kept everything on the list, but we tried to hit the big ones first to make sure we got them in, and then we found that by doing those, we had bits and pieces of making those we were able to put in other places.
Yeah, being very judicious about that.
And again, it's not real. We're not photoreal, although it feels real because of the texture of the dolls and the world is so detailed.
It's
it
like a
feels real, but
suggestion,
it's pushed. I mean,
if you look at this shot here, for example, it's a beautiful shot, and it feels like it really exists.
Yeah.
And you get a wonderful sense of the scale too.
But it's a little bit, it's a little bit pushed. It's not 100% photoreal. In
No,
fact,
no.
if it were, we'd still be working on it. But it also helps just to create a mood. Like you can create the world to feel a certain way, like the dawn sky here. It gives a certain emotion that you need to tell that story.
That's right.
And you're not relying, necessarily on what it might really look like, but rather what it should feel like. The grass blowing, and it's our first time we've seen any kind of life in this world.
Yeah, even though it's dead, dried grass, it feels natural in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were watching the Jennifer Connelly footage of her recording the lines, there's little things she would do every once in a while, which is tuck her hair back behind her ear.
Oh.
So we have 7 doing that. Now that she's kind of a little softer, a little bit more accessible, she kind of, that helmet, she kind of does it like Jennifer does, like pushes that.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Each of the locations has a little backstory.
Yeah.
This one here, it's it's like a gatehouse or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then obviously the guard used to sit and drink
for hours and hours.
drink the whiskey
beer.
bottle,
Yeah, that's
drink
right.
whiskey and listen to music.
Yeah,
And if you
pass the time watching the oil fields where nothing happens.
You
yeah.
can see a bicycle back there. Mm-hmm. And that's one, just giving up his crown of office.
Finally stripped of his last vestige of kingship.
And it's his choice. It's his choice to take the crown off here.
And we got to talk about, the sound of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is just a brilliant choice that you guys did, Shane.
Although
yeah.
it does suggest that this film does occur after 1939.
Yeah.
But,
That's right. Yeah, well, that was Timur's idea. He came in. He had taken that piece of music and married it to this. We always had a space there because we had some other temp music in there, but he put it on here and it just lined up so perfectly, and it was so haunting and melancholy in some way. It felt so human. It's this beautiful single human voice singing,
and so thematically symbolic of
Yeah.
the story of Nine and
this
the others.
great juxtaposition of the we can't hear the sound effects right there. Just
That's right. And
Yeah.
it's not what you
moment. It makes it kind of worse. And then you snap out of it.
yeah,
It's not what you expect in a monster movie, which is I think why it's as powerful as it is.
Yeah, a moment of sort of beauty over the top of a moment of horror. I mean, those contrasts are usually where you get the most powerful film moments,
Yeah.
I think.
And this is sort of where 9 starts to really lose it. Like, the results of his actions. Yeah, he has to risk to gain, but 5, he lost 5 here, and 9 starts to unravel a little bit after this.
And it's interesting because 1's the one who accurately restrains 9 here and says there's nothing we can really do. I mean, so 1 has the strength to be a leader now, which is great.
Because he needs it, because 9's not up to it at the moment.
Yeah, and he just kind of drags 9 away.
Here we get our big reveal of the monster down the hill. This guy was fun to animate. He's not an analog to a real creature, but we tried to find ways to make him somewhat believable. He actually walks, he looks like a spider, but he walks on 4 legs, and his sort of upper body kind of hangs from that, kind of dangles from that. But he's dragging all this garbage.
Well, he's dragging the giant thing that attached him to the roof of
Right.
the
Yeah.
factory,
Yeah.
and thankfully it slows him down.
Right. Well, what's funny is that sort of the more they damage him, the more dangerous he becomes. When he's in the factory, he's scary, but he's kind of restrained. Then they blow that up, and he becomes free, and he's actually more dangerous. And then they blow him up again in a little bit, and he actually blow off all that extra stuff, so he can move around like a spider now. So the more damage they do to him physically, the worse it gets. And it's kind of like, it's a metaphor, sure. Like, there's only so much you can do by fighting. You got to put up a good fight, though. Attach our camera to the bridge right here.
And I mean, the matte painters did just an incredible job in this film, just creating these huge, vast, landscapes and backgrounds. And again, it's that kind of, it's haunting in some way. It's dead, it's destroyed, but it's beautiful.
Those clouds are amazing.
They did some beautiful work with the clouds
Yeah.
as well.
And we played Six's death off screen there in the reflection.
Right.
We've already seen it a few times, so
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully each time one of the dolls dies, it's a slightly different experience because it means something different.
Yeah, and 6, he stopped them from, they had the opportunity to send this beast down into the chasm, and he tried to stop them because he sees a much larger picture than they do.
The clouds were all matte paintings, weren't they?
Yeah, well, some they're generated from their paintings, but what we did is we actually put them on these sky domes that had like 3 different layers, and you could start to move the layers against each other and it would get you that depth.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. And then also there's some distortion. You can see there's some distortion, which gives them that natural kind of morphing shape.
Yeah, and we certainly didn't make the matte painters' jobs easy because we have our little dollies and our drifts, to, sort of like the live action cameras, and they have to, as soon as we do that, you can't fake the perspective anymore.
Yeah.
So keep them on their toes.
But because our world is so painterly, we found that we could keep we could keep everybody working. So if the lighters were too busy, you could give a shot to a matte painter and have them do so much of the work that the lighters had very little to do at the end. So.
And part of that was
a great approach.
You sort of make decisions, when you can, and decide to go a certain way, and not change it later. You don't have the freedom to because
Well, you just can't change it later.
And then this is a great moment where 9 sort of sees the designs.
It's like witnessing your parents conceiving you for the first time.
Wait a minute.
It's like wait a minute. It's like looking at your own DNA, though.
this hologram was a great solution. Because you think word hologramming, oh no, sci-fi, but then having it as a
Yeah, well, we really wanted to go against
projector.
the convention, the things you've always seen as holograms. So we made it it's as if there's a two-dimensional
Yeah.
film that's being projected in a three-dimensional space.
Or
So-
I remember when I was storyboarding that, it was like, oh, how are we going to do this?
Yeah,
I sort
yeah.
of thought, well, if it's film, it's like two little reels of film. All right, so maybe we don't explain exactly how he processed that film to
Yeah,
get
right.
it in there,
Yeah,
but
right.
If you look carefully here, you can see the fabrication machine or the thinking machine kill one of the soldiers there.
sort of snaps its neck.
Yeah, so like the beginnings of his brutality, and he's doing it to protect his master.
He's doing it to
but-
protect the scientist, yeah.
but there's the beginnings there.
I love that shot. It's so brief, where you actually see like the little synapses on his
the
around
machines.
on the machines,
Yeah.
the
So
surface
some of those
working
shots
as it
were
thinks.
originally in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ended up cutting it.
Yeah,
in
we
this
took
section.
we had a larger beginning where we explained a lot more, and then when the film was done, we realized we didn't need to do that so much. So we took that footage and cut it up to make
Yeah, we moved the exposition.
which is
later.
great.
And so you're learning it as Nine learns it, which is sort of the conceit of the whole film, that you're with Nine for the most part. Even now when they've split up, we've left the other characters behind, but are staying with Nine. So we're getting the information as Nine does.
Well, increasing the mystery adds to the hook.
Yeah,
The
makes the audience pay more attention. and
keep
really
watching the film to see what's
participate.
going to
Yeah.
happen. Otherwise, they already know what's going to happen.
And here you see how he recorded that message right before he made Nine. So we're kind of returning to the beginning of the film, just seeing the bits and pieces that we didn't see
Yeah.
right after he attached the talisman.
And hopefully, you've collected, as an audience member, have collected all this information bit by bit throughout the length of the film. You've kind of put the story together yourself, enough hopefully to understand it without ever somebody having to sit down and explain the whole thing to you.
And so, if Nine would have discovered this box in the very beginning when he woke up, everything would
different
have
story.
been presented to him. Yeah,
But part of it was his journey. He had to learn, he had to find the others, he had to bring them together.
that's right. And now he sort of really understands who this man is and what
Look
he's
at-
done for them.
You got the apothecary drawers back there up on the...
And we had a line here. We had Nine actually saying stuff to the scientist, right? And the animators, when they first started doing the shot, that line was there. And so all those, he's saying the line in his head, which is amazing. But then we decided, let's take the line out. But the animator already started, so all those, he's saying the line, his eyes are saying the line,
Right.
his body is saying the line.
He's
which is really
acting the line,
interesting.
even
Yeah.
if so you get some subtext, because you kind of animate it as if there were dialogue.
And this is a lot of fun. We really see these guys working as a team, and how they interact with the human canon is a lot of fun. And we see he's the leader. He's in charge here. He's controlling the battle.
Back to the general.
Back to the
that
general.
he
Well, he's a
once was.
wartime president, right? But he's not a very good peacetime president.
That's right.
Exactly. He doesn't know how to control people outside of pressures situation where there's so much pressure going on.
The scientist!
He just knows how to react.
Yeah.
Basically.
Source. He gave us his soul. We are him.
He goes to 7 because there's a chance 7 might listen to him.
Yeah.
That was Kristen Solid there doing the 7 animation.
You destroyed the talisman!
Yeah, just beautiful work by the animators. Just all these characters, they feel really unique and have distinct personalities. And there's not a lot of dialogue in the film, so it really has to come out of just the acting and the pantomime.
And it's a lot of fun. And whenever you got tired of doing one character, there's always something else to do. Like, now we're throwing cannons through the sky. There's always something to keep you busy. And of course, we relied a lot on you guys, like on Ryan and Nick, who would board this stuff and cut it together. And that would give us our some of our posing and our timing, and would really help sort of get this thing going. It's because we'd make those acting decisions in the story stage. We're thinking about the acting as you guys are writing the boards.
Quick, get in.
Old one trying to
Yeah.
catch up.
The machine. It can be used against it. I'll lure it to me.
And this is, and we know here we want to keep the action going, but we want to present just enough information to set up the events that happen.
It'll be okay.
I like
Later
how
on.
7 grasps the implications. He never says this means that I'm going to get my soul sucked, but 7 grasps that implication.
Basically, I'm prepared to sacrifice myself so that you guys can defeat this thing.
And then before they can really get the plan in place, the machine's there and just kind of destroys everything. And throughout the film, we're slowly taking off, these costumes, these things that the characters have put on themselves to separate or to create some kind of identity. And so here we see Seven loses her shield and her helmet. So now they're all just, in their natural states.
They're all stripped bare.
Yeah.
Now this is a great shot, just 9 getting assaulted by this thing. Like, see, this thing now doesn't have all this
Yeah,
stuff dragging it. It cut itself free from the barbed wire. So now it's just sort of hanging above them.
Do this without you.
I know, the fact that it was prepared to blowtorch its own tail off in order to get
Yeah.
out of the barbed wire to hunt them down.
No, we cut that little moment, but yeah, I mean,
You see him kind of
it's
like
implied.
gauging it, seeing he's trapped.
Seeing
It's like an
it trap-
animal gnawing
yeah.
its own leg off to get out of a trap. The staging here, the sense of scale.
Sometimes.
So he shuts down, right? That gives him the ability to open up the talisman.
And here one, comes around full circle. I mean, earlier when they were celebrating at the record, one, he couldn't really celebrate. He wasn't really a part of the family, part of the team. But now he's found a way to really participate and be a part of them again by sacrificing himself so they can finish this.
I like how the fabrication machine
Trying to grab him.
Well, he recognizes the talisman. He wants it back, and that's sort of nice. Gives him some intelligence. And you can see the souls getting sucked out of
Yeah,
here. Which is a nice touch.
I love that, We did get the correct amount of souls, didn't
That's
we?
right.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did.
Wow, look at that, dude. And then you just see this life go out of this thing, and it topples like a building, just piece by piece.
It's an amazing animation, really amazing. To make that thing just become this lifeless hunk of metal
And again, the great sound design is it's sort of just
powering
winding
down.
down.
Yeah.
And Nine's got one cable on him, keeping him down.
And this is a nice little moment here with 9 and 7. I mean, she just, throughout the course of the film, 9 she has such a hard exterior. She's kind of put out that shield up for herself and won't let her emotions show. And here she's overcome with the emotion. She can't. And you really see the person that she is inside.
She sort of cares for everybody. She's like their older sister or something, but it hurts her maybe to see making the decisions that she doesn't want to make. But finally, she comes around and she loses her helmet. She hugs 9. She becomes one of the family again.
And she's never really been wrong. I mean, she's always got the right instincts. I mean, she's making the right choices, but sometimes, the harder path is the one you have to go down,
Yeah, she's not scared of the monsters, but she's kind of scared of
She's
the
like the most
family.
rational out of them all in some way, yeah.
And this is the end, very reminiscent of the short.
Yeah, and again, like we started the film, I mean, after the first title sequence, silent. What we're doing again, we're playing this silent and just letting the animation, the performance of the characters bring the emotion.
And the design, like this green light,
Of course, yeah.
only is so specific to the talisman.
It's so specific to souls.
Right. And it's been kind of threatening up to this point, but it's got sort of a warmth now, and because
Yeah, we still play with that. Like, we don't know what's going to happen when it opens, so it's a little scary, it's a little frightening, and then we reveal that.
Yeah, you look at the
something
twins;
magical's
they kind
happening.
of relax though here.
Yeah, and then 8, you don't know how he feels until then.
Yeah. Good old 6, finally in his element.
Yeah, and this
Comes
is-
out backwards, of course.
But yeah, you get a sense that 6 knew about, he might have had a vision of this at some point. I mean, he kind of, somehow it makes sense to him. He's the only one that can really understand what's happening. And so he's leading 8. He's like, 8, stay here. I know it's going to happen. It's wonderful. And so it's really fun. We get a sense of what his world might have been like. And then here's 2. And I guess he was standing on 5's head.
I like how he steps aside. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I feel something. Wait.
Oh, sorry, sir. Go ahead. Yeah, 2's always at peace with everything, which is nice.
And
this
then
awkward little walk.
yeah. And then here's 1, and we're not quite sure.
Yeah, there's a little standoffish.
There's a little,
Passing the torch.
yeah. And this is great. I love the character here where he puts his hands behind us. He's kind of going through a contemplative stroll or something.
Oh, he's the
It's
old
reflecting.
soldier, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're off to their ultimate destination.
And this was really,
I've still got one eye, even in your soul.
yeah.
The
yeah.
souls remember the
It's like the
reality.
ideal. It's like their ideal selves in some way. And that somehow him being affected that way was.
Well, he
was
really
pure.
does. He really does prefer having one.
Yeah,
eye.
I guess he does,
simplifies
yeah.
things for him.
And this was a really hard sequence to light because we've got there's the bright fire, there's the glowing souls. It was really a challenge, but I think they did an amazing job. You know where to look, and everything feels like it pulls together.
This is one of the few real nice wide shots we get of the cityscape as well, the destroyed city.
Yeah.
Brilliant color on it too, which is nice. And so this is,
Here, the dawn is coming.
life returning to the planet.
The potential for life now, yeah. That water is returning, that's raining.
And of course, they've never seen it before, which is fun.
They probably should have been recording it, huh? Now that I think about it. I probably should have recorded the. And then here, we're wrestling with the idea of how do we suggest that life may be returning to the planet, but doing it in a way that we've never seen before. And so Timur and I worked away at this, and this is the solution we came up with. These kinds of amoeboids.
Yeah, I like the sort of soul-powered microbes, which is great.
Yeah.
It's it's cool and uplifting, but a little bit creepy. Kind of like the movie.
Well, and also it's it's a little open-ended. Like what is gonna what's gonna happen here?
Well, like everything in this film,
Exactly. What will that lead to? What species will grow from these tiny little sort of single cell life forms?
Yeah, and if these creatures, our heroes, are now the sort of eternal shepherds, how will they deal with that? Will they let nature just take its course? Will they try to affect it in some way? It's really there's a lot of questions still for them to answer.
In the sequel, of course.
In the sequel, that's right. Well, all the technology in the film, it's not what it was built for that makes it good or bad. It's how it gets used, right? Which is a pretty broad message, but it's the same thing. It's ambiguous whether it's good or bad. Nature is what it is. The world is what it is. It's the decisions that these guys make. 9 especially, he makes mistakes, but he makes the right decisions, and having to wrestle with that. There's no easy answers. It's not like this is what you have to do and everything will be okay. And that's sort of the microbes kind of have that feeling about them.
Yeah, and it's not just man against machine, because our creatures, our heroes, are machines as well. But it's the humanity within the machine. It's tempering the machines with with morality and with empathy and these kinds of traits that we have as humans.
Compassion for each other.
The positive traits,
Yeah.
But it's funny because those positive traits are not just they come with negative traits, because one is just as human as the rest of them.
Right, exactly. No, even human traits. We're fallible. We're all fallible. So it's about striving for the most ideal, the best traits that we have.
Or moving ahead, even though you're going to make mistakes.
That's right.
And learning from those mistakes. And that's why I think why 9 is an appealing character, is because he doesn't just know what to do. He's not just a hero. He kind of fumbles along. He has an instinct, and he makes his best guess, and he works hard and tries to have compassion for the others. But sometimes he still screws
but he's a little in the beginning. He's a little idealistic too. I mean, he's driven by his heart and his instinct. But sometimes it's too much. It's not the right decision all the time. So it's just the beginning of the enormous list of all the amazing artists who've collaborated on this project. It's really we had such great fortune from the amazing cast, from Tim Burton, Timur sort of being the godfathers, and
I think because of your short, especially, we attracted a lot of really good talent from the beginning. People had heard about it.
Yeah.
It was in the Academy Awards and all that. And so people knew this thing, and we got a lot of really big names. Even though it was kind of a smaller project, we got big names. And even, at the, in animation, we got people from, other studios
Yeah, it really became a lot of people came to the studio to be a part of the project, to participate.
I mean, it's how you lured someone with my kind of talents to the project.
Otherwise, you'd be totally out of our league.
You just couldn't afford me, really. But I believed in the quality of the product.
No, but even you and Nick, you had come from a larger studio, but there's just something different about. We were able to kind of go places that you weren't able to go in other environments.
No,
or
I'd
other
seen
studios.
the short and I loved it. And I heard that you were looking for storyboard artists, and I just went around there and said, "Do you need an editor?"
Yeah. Well, yes, we do.
Turns out we
As a
did.
matter of fact, yes.
No, but I think there was a lot of potential and there was a lot of fun to be had in every department on this project, and it was a very artist-friendly. I'm an artist. I'm an animator. It was a very artist-friendly environment. I think
A very, very collaborative
very
environment.
collaborative environment. Yeah.
And I think, what drew me to the project initially was just how different it was. And unlike any other animated film that any other studio was making, and the fact that it was sort of an independent production, and that we could take risks.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about appealing to everyone on the earth. We could just make a film that was, solely your vision, and that sort of told a story and that was honest,
Yeah.
and truthful to
older
itself.
audience with
And that we
darker
didn't have to.
themes.
It had darker themes, and we were allowed to do that.
I think it was fun because we sort of, at every turn, we had to make a decision about what kind of movie we were making, and it was always what movie do we want to see? What do we want to see at this point?
Right.
That was sort of, it was kind of like being a kid. Of course, then we were working, crazy hours to get it out, but that feeling that we weren't making it for everybody else, that we were making it for, it was the kind of animation we wanted to see, the kind of look, the kind of storytelling, the kind of things that we were all interested in.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what kept me going every day, is that this is our chance to do something that we want to do, for good or ill, whether it works or not. It was what we wanted to do.
It was an opportunity to try a lot of different things.
To try something really different, in terms of animated feature filmmaking, something that hopefully will break some ground and let other films like this, obviously never as good as this one, but other films that sort of might be sort of like have sort of different markets, different kind of audiences interested in it, not necessarily just for kids, abroad or.
But at the same time, we wanted to work on many levels. We wanted to be a really entertaining film. I mean, you never really forget about the audience, even though we're making it. We were sort of the audience in some way.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's the kind of movies we like because there was a certain kind of
I
action
would have wanted
adventure
to see
movie.
this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was watching, for good or for ill, I was watching these kinds of movies very young, and I think that was a big inspiration for me. And I think there's lots of elements of those movies, and movies that are a little bit, they're scary, they're frightening, and they're thoughtful, and they bring up larger issues.
But they were, like the kind of stuff we're talking about are still, big audience appealing films, because I think there's maybe an assumption sometimes that audiences don't want to see something that's more complex or darker, but they do. We grew up watching those movies. And they were big budget Hollywood movies that we loved, because the characters and the themes and the ideas, and that was sort of what, we were trying to do here. Is something that we responded to, but also, that we, us at 14 would have responded to, or something like that.
And also just like to note out that the music I thought was incredible. The score that Deborah Lurie and Danny Elfman put together really fit the film.
It's very moving, really moving, and really poignant.
And then also really has the energy. It feels classic in some way, but also very contemporary with some of the voices that they put, the instrumentation, and it kind of it has to shift with our genre shifts too, which is so it's a very complex score, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I don't think it couldn't have been easy to do, but it really brings those action sequences to life. So they're not the same thing. We're not just seeing another fight or another explosion. Each monster has its own sound. The music for the seamstress has a real strong identity that makes her stand out from the other monsters and things like that. So you're right. I think Deborah and Danny did a great job.
Yeah. Well,
and thank you to Focus Features for letting us be here.
Yeah, and thanks,
letting us make the movie.
Yeah, and thanks for spending time with us here as we did the director's commentary. I hope you enjoyed it.